Sunglasses! Do you like my bright shades? Today is the start of our Super Summer series, and I'm going to tell you the beginning of the story of Jacob. It's a story we're going to be looking at in detail over the next 6 weeks. You know, sunglasses help you block out the sun when you're outside in the bright light, but inside where it's much darker, they can make it pretty hard to see. Dark glasses distort and hide some of the details, but once I take the glasses off, I can see pretty colors and details I couldn't see before. This is kind of like what sin does to us. Sin distorts and deceives us into thinking we know the truth. Sin blocks our vision. If we're looking at the truth through sunglasses, we're going to miss how wonderful the truth really is. And not only can we be deceived by our own sin, we can be deceived by the sins of others. This story is full of sin. You could say it's an example of pretty much everything not to do in your family. How not to treat one another, how not to parent, how not to be a sibling, how not to be a child. But somehow, through this story, a lot of characters seem to be blind to their sin. Listen and see if you can spot the places where sin is blinding to the truth. Let's go back and get a little bit of history here. Do you remember Abraham and Sarah? They had a son named Isaac, and Isaac married Rebecca, and they went a long time without having any children, until God gave them twins. Esau was their firstborn, and Jacob was their second. You might think twins, they're born on the same day, they'll be the same age, they'll be treated the same. But in Bible times, being the firstborn meant you had more privileges and more benefits, even with twins. The firstborn would get more of the inheritance, more of the money, more of the blessings, more privileges. How unfair was that system? Well, Esau was born red and hairy, and Jacob was born holding on to his brother's heel. As they grew up, these two twins were very different from one another. Esau became a skilled hunter and a man of the open country, while Jacob was happy to stay home with his mom. Isaac loved Esau, but Rebecca loved Jacob more. How terrible was that their parents had favorites? Parents today try to love all of their children equally and don't have favorites. Once, after Esau had been out hunting, he came home and was famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of your stew. I'm starving." And Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." How bad was that Jacob couldn't give his starving brother something to eat? If we have more than enough, then we have enough to share. But then he was going to charge him his birthright. Esau said, "I'm so hungry, I'm about to die. What good is a birthright to me if I die?" So he swore an oath to Jacob, selling him his birthright. This was also very short-sighted. He gave up something that was going to impact his entire life for instant gratification. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew, and he ate and drank, and he got up and left. And he'd given up the special promises that God had given him as the oldest son. Well, many years later, when Isaac was old and his eyesight was very poor, he called for Esau and said, "Go out and hunt some wild game and prepare it like I like it and bring it to me, and I will give you your blessing before I die." Well, Rebecca, their mother, overheard Isaac speaking to Esau, and she went and said to Jacob, "I overheard your father tell your brother to go and do this, so listen carefully to me. I have a plan. Go out, get 2 young goats, and I'll prepare them tastily like your father likes it, and then you'll take it to your father. He'll eat it and give you his blessing before he dies." His mother was plotting to trick her husband? Jacob said, "Mom, he'll know it's not me because Esau has hairy skin and my skin is smooth." And his mother said, "Just do what I tell you." So Rebecca took Esau's best clothes and put them on her younger son Jacob, and then she covered his hands and that smooth part of his neck with some hairy goat skins. And then she handed the bread and tasty food that she had made to Jacob and said, "Go, take this to your dad." And so he went and said, "My father." And the lies begin again. Isaac said, "Who is it?" And Jacob lied and said, "It's me, Esau, your firstborn. I've done just like you told me to." So he sat up and said, "I will give you my blessing." But Isaac said, "How did you find this so quickly?" Jacob lied again and said, "The Lord gave me success." So Isaac said, "Come over here closer so I can touch you and know if you're really my son Esau or not." Jacob went closer, and Isaac said, "This is the voice of Jacob, but the hands of Esau." Then he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And Jacob lied again and said, "I am." Lies, lies, lies. So Jacob brought him the game, and he ate and drank, and then Isaac said, "Come here and kiss me." So he came close, and when he smelled him, he smelled the clothes and blessed him. Just moments after he finished blessing Jacob, Esau came back from hunting. He too prepared tasty food and brought it to his father and said, "Father, sit up and eat some of this tasty food." And his father said, "Who are you?" He said, "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau," which was actually the truth. But Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who then was it that brought me game that I just ate and I blessed before you came in?" That's when Isaac realized he had been lied to by Jacob. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out and cried, "Bless me too, Father!" But his father said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. Isn't he rightly named Jacob? First he took my birthright and now my blessing. Can't you bless me too?" And Isaac said, "Nope. I've blessed your brother and he will rule over you and he will have everything he needs. And you're going to have a tough time." Esau had a big grudge against his brother and said, "When my father dies, I'm going to kill my brother Jacob." Murder? Rebecca again overheard this, so she went to Jacob and gave him a warning. She said, "Go, flee to Padan Aram, to my brother Laban's house, and stay there until Esau has cooled off." So Isaac instructed him to go and take a wife from there and marry her because she would be a follower of God. So he did. But Esau, to make his parents even more upset, married a Canaanite woman to displease his parents even further. That was revenge and deliberate disobedience. Phew. This family is the picture of unhealth and all the things that families should not do to one another. Lying, tricking, stealing, favoritism, blessings, cursing, threats of murder. Wow. Stay tuned as this story continues. Can you believe all of that's in the Bible? You can check it out with your family in Genesis 25 through 27. You see, Genesis is in the Old Testament. It's the very first book, the book of beginnings. And the Bible helps us to know and understand what is truth and what is sin. Sin, it isn't generally our favorite topic, but it isn't one that we should avoid. As we study God's Word, we can discover God's truth and let the truth lead us to see clearly. You see, sometimes we put the glasses back on purpose, meaning we know we're doing something wrong. But that way of living isn't the way of living that Jesus calls us to. Jesus calls us to separate ourselves from sin and to live in truth. So, have a conversation about sin. Are there some sins in your life or in your family's life that have been blinding you, preventing you from seeing the truth? Remember, I told you this isn't the end of the story. Thank goodness, because this is a kind of a terrible story. But we're going to see that God has a plan, as God always does, and that God will use these ordinary people, even people who sin, to do God's work. So hang on for the ride. We'd love to see your family. Would you put on your family's favorite shades, take a picture and send it to me, or post it on our Kids Ministry Facebook page and share with the world that you have stopped to think about the way sin can blind us, and that your family is looking for the truth. I'll see you next week with another favorite summer item. Got any guesses what it might be?